Backup and recovery management is an important aspect of cybersecurity that is focused on protecting an organization's data and information from cyber risks. This includes ensuring that data and information are protected from unauthorized access, alteration, or disclosure, as well as protecting information systems and software configurations. The primary goal of backup and recovery management is to ensure that an organization's data and information can be recovered in the event of a disaster or other unplanned event. This is done by implementing various controls, such as backup and recovery mechanisms, disaster recovery plans, and business continuity plans. Control 291. The first control is all about making sure that the organization has a well-defined and documented set of cybersecurity requirements for backup and recovery management. These requirements should be based on organizational policies and procedures, as well as any relevant laws and regulations. This is the foundation for the rest of the controls in the domain. It's important to note that backup and recovery management is an ongoing process that requires regular monitoring and review. This includes monitoring the backup and recovery mechanisms to ensure they are working as intended, regularly testing and updating the disaster recovery plans and business continuity plans, and making sure that employees are aware of and following the policies and procedures. It's also important to make sure that the backup and recovery mechanisms are sufficient to meet the organization's needs. This includes considering factors such as the types of data and information that need to be protected, the frequency of backups, and the recovery time objectives. Overall, backup and recovery management is a critical part of an organization's cybersecurity strategy. It helps to ensure that the organization's data and information are protected and can be recovered in the event of a disaster or other unplanned event. So it's important to have a robust backup and recovery plan in place to protect your organization's data and information. This includes regularly backing up important data and information and storing it in a secure location, such as an off-site location or in the cloud. Additionally, it's important to have a disaster recovery plan in place, which outlines the steps to take in the event of a disaster, such as a cyber attack or natural disaster, to ensure that the organization's data and information can be quickly and efficiently recovered. Another important aspect of backup and recovery management is testing and validating backups to ensure they can be successfully restored in the event of an actual disaster. This includes regularly testing restore procedures and making sure that any hardware or software required for restoration is in good working order. Furthermore, it's important to have a well-defined retention policy and schedule for backups, in order to determine how long backups will be retained and to ensure that older backups are securely deleted or overwritten to prevent unauthorized access or breaches. In terms of technology, there are several solutions available that organizations can use to implement backup and recovery management, such as backup software, cloud backup, backup appliances, backup as a service, and disaster recovery as a service. These solutions can be used to automate the backup and recovery process, making it more efficient and less prone to errors. Keep in mind that compliance with laws and regulations related to data protection and disaster recovery is also important for organizations to consider when implementing backup and recovery management controls. In terms of documents, the organization would need to have a backup and recovery plan, and any relevant policies and procedures in place. The team in charge of backup and recovery should be IT team and security team, and the backups should be stored in a secure location, such as a data center, within the country. Control 292 is all about putting the backup and recovery plan into action. This includes implementing the technologies, tools and procedures that have been defined in the previous Control 291. A common approach to backup and recovery management is to have multiple copies of data and information stored in different locations, such as on premises and in the cloud. This helps to ensure that the data is still accessible in the event of a disaster or other unplanned event. One example of how an organization can implement this control is by using a tool like VM Backup and Replication, which provides a comprehensive data protection solution for virtual, physical, and cloud environments. This tool can be used to create backups of the organization's data and information on a regular basis, and store them in multiple locations, such as on premises and in the cloud. Additionally, it can be configured to automatically replicate data and information to a secondary location in case of a disaster. Another example of how an organization can implement this control is by using a cloud-based backup and disaster recovery service such as AWS Backup or Azure Backup. These services provide an easy way to back up data and information to the cloud and to restore it in the event of an interruption or data loss. It's also important to test your backup and recovery plan regularly to make sure that it's working correctly and that you can recover data and information in case of an emergency. In summary, Control 292 is about implementing the backup and recovery plan that was defined in this subdomain, which includes setting up backup schedules, configuring replication, testing the plan, and monitoring it. Additionally, it's important to store backups in multiple locations, such as on premises and in the cloud, to ensure that data and information can be recovered in the event of a disaster or other unplanned event. Control 293. When it comes to protecting an organization's data and information, backup and recovery management is an essential aspect of cybersecurity. This includes defining, documenting, and approving the requirements for how backups will be handled and ensuring that those requirements are implemented. Control 293.1. One key aspect of backup and recovery management is ensuring that the scope and coverage of backups are comprehensive enough to cover all critical technology and information assets. This means identifying which data and systems are most important to the organization and making sure that those are included in the backup plan. Scope and coverage of backups is about making sure that all critical technology and information assets are included in the backup strategy. This includes things like servers, databases, and applications that are critical to the organization's operations. This can be achieved by performing regular backups and keeping track of which assets are included in the backups. Control 293.2. Another important aspect is the ability to quickly recover data and systems after a cybersecurity incident. This is why periodic tests of the backup's recovery effectiveness are crucial in making sure that the organization's data can be restored in the event of a disaster or attack. Ability to perform quick recovery of data and systems after cybersecurity incidents is about ensuring that the organization can quickly restore its operations in the event of a security incident. This can be achieved by having a solid disaster recovery plan in place and regularly testing it to make sure it works as expected. It's also important to have a clear incident response plan in place and to ensure that all employees know how to execute it in case of an incident. It's important to have a well-defined and tested backup and recovery strategy in place to ensure the continuity of the business in case of any crisis. Periodic tests of backups' recovery effectiveness is about regularly testing the backups to make sure that they can be successfully restored in case of an incident. This can be done by performing regular backup testing and recovery drills, where the organization simulates an incident and restores from backup to ensure that the data and systems can be recovered quickly and efficiently. Control 294. When it comes to backup and recovery management, it's crucial to have a plan in place to ensure the protection of your organization's data and information. This includes having a clear understanding of what data and information needs to be backed up, how often backups should be performed, and where they should be stored. Additionally, it's important to have procedures in place for testing and validating backups, as well as procedures for recovering data and information in the event of an incident. It's also important to have a clear chain of custody for backups, meaning that there is a clear understanding of who is responsible for creating, maintaining, and securing backups. This will help you to ensure that your backups are secure and can be trusted. It is also important to have a clear communication plan in place to ensure that all stakeholders are aware of the backup and recovery procedures and know what to do in case of an incident. Overall, having a robust and well-planned backup and recovery strategy in place is crucial for protecting your organization's data and information. This includes using the right technology, tools, and approach, such as using backup software, hardware, cloud services, and physical storage media. It's also important to keep your plan updated to ensure that it continues to meet the needs of your organization and compliance with the relevant laws and regulations. Here are some examples of top technologies used in backup and recovery. Cloud backup solutions. Services like Amazon S3, Azure Backup, and Google Cloud Storage provide a secure and reliable way to backup and store data off-site in the cloud. Make sure the data center is available in Saudi Arabia by the time you are applying this kind of backup. Image-based backup solutions. Tools like Acronis, VM, and Symantec Ghost create a complete image of a server or workstation, including the operating system, applications, and data that can be quickly restored in the event of a disaster. Tape backup solutions. Tape libraries and automated tape backup systems, like HP Store Once, IBM TS3500, and Dell EMCDL, provide a cost-effective way to store large amounts of data off-site for long-term retention. Software-defined storage, SDS, solutions. SDS solutions like Datacore, StarWind, and VMware vSAN provide a virtualized storage infrastructure that can be easily scaled and managed to meet the backup and recovery needs of an organization. Backup appliances. Backup appliances like Unitrends, Barracuda Backup, and Rubrik provide an all-in-one solution that combines hardware and software to provide an easy-to-use, full-featured backup and recovery solution. It's worth noting that the specific solutions and technologies that an organization chooses will depend on their specific needs, budget, and existing infrastructure. It is important that the backup and recovery strategy aligns with the organization's overall cybersecurity and data protection strategy, and that it is regularly tested and reviewed to ensure that it is still effective. In addition to the technology and tools mentioned in previous answers, it's also important to have a comprehensive backup and recovery plan in place. This plan should include details on how data and information will be backed up, how often backups will be performed, and where backups will be stored. It should also include procedures for testing and validating backups, as well as procedures for recovering data and information in the event of an incident. It's also important to have a clear chain of custody for backups, meaning that there is a clear understanding of who is responsible for creating, maintaining, and securing backups. It's also important to have a clear communication plan in place to ensure that all stakeholders are aware of the backup and recovery procedures and know what to do in case of an incident. Overall, the key is to have a robust and well-planned backup and recovery strategy in place to protect the organization's data and information. Let's conclude this subdomain with an example. Here's an example of how a government organization in Saudi Arabia might implement the cybersecurity requirements for backup and recovery management in compliance with ECC. First, the organization would need to define, document, and approve the cybersecurity requirements for backup and recovery management in accordance with relevant laws and regulations, such as data sovereignty laws that require data to remain within the country. This would involve creating a backup and recovery plan that outlines the scope and coverage of backups, the recovery process, and the roles and responsibilities of different teams and individuals. Once the plan is in place, the organization would then need to implement the requirements, which may involve selecting and deploying the appropriate technology and tools. For example, the organization could use a backup and recovery software that is capable of encrypting data and performing backups in compliance with local laws. The organization could also use a cloud service provider that has data centers located within Saudi Arabia to store backups. The organization would then need to ensure that the backups are being performed regularly and that the recovery process is tested periodically to ensure that data and systems can be quickly restored in the event of an incident. This might involve conducting regular backups and recovery tests, as well as monitoring the backups and recovery process to identify any issues. It's also important to ensure that the organization's employees are aware of the backup and recovery policies and procedures, and that they are following them. This can be done through regular training and awareness programs.